Welcome, everybody, to the Raad Life, the only talk radio show that takes you along with host and age explorer Rod Gantos on his continuing journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older. The Raad Life is brought to you this week by Your Home for a Lifetime, a company dedicated to empowering you to stay safely, independently, and comfortably in your own home. And now here is your host, Rod Gantos.
There we go. Let's get your mic up.
Hello, 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 hello. Am I on?
You're on.
You are?
You're
I
on.
am?
Let's get the video on even. They can see it now.
Oh, like, hey, hi, everybody. All right. Okay, so first order of business is, hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us at the Raad Life weekly show.
Is that what this show is? Oh, I'm sorry. I got the wrong show. I was looking, turned the wrong page here.
I apologize for the lack of radness from the corner. That's Paul Roberts, who is always off camera, but it's like
I'm a little off today.
He's like the Sandman at the Apollo Theater. You know, he's always making noise behind the curtain. Okay, but you know, at least I took away his pole at the beginning of the show. When we started the show, he had like this big, huge, like shepherd's pole that he would try to get me on the air with, like a Sandman.
Get you off. Yeah.
Is that a really dated reference?
That's a very
dated reference.
You also referred the Sandman at the Apollo Theater. I don't think there's anybody that knows. I'm not even sure what the Sandman.
Well,
at
it
the
doesn't
Apollo
really
Theater.
matter, right? Because nobody's listening to the show, right? So it's just, I can make any references
We
I
can
want.
talk about it.
Right?
Oh,
Okay.
that's good.
And
Now
if-
I'm much more relaxed.
You're relaxed.
Yeah.
Laura, nobody's
listening?
listening to this. No.
Awesome.
The
Okay.
problem is that we record it.
Oh.
And
okay.
then we put it out later.
Lots
So,
of people listen to it
occasionally
later.
somebody will stumble on it by accident. Yeah.
All
so.
right. All right.
But we like that. It's like this ticking piece of news
Ticking
information,
time
ticking knowledge base that you trip on.
Cooks along.
Okay.
All
All right, but no. Okay, so just to close up that circle, anybody who is listening, thank you very much for listening. That we really appreciate it, and go check out the Sandman at the Apollo Theater. Figure out what that is. I'm sure there's a Wikipedia on it somewhere.
I'm gonna look it up right now.
All right, but anyway, so thank you for listening. We do this every week. We have no clue what we're doing, and if you happen to be listening on the octalkradio.net website, also be aware that you can be watching us. Look, how great is that for you, right? Watching us live as well on the OC Talk Radio YouTube station, or channel is appropriate, I guess, the term, and the Facebook page for OC Talk Radio, right? And then we always also have the show afterwards shared. So if you miss any part of this, you can always catch up with it later. If you happen to be listening and we keep your attention and you'd like to call and ask any questions to our guest, Paul, what is the number they can call?
949-330-7760. Operators standing by.
And that operator would be Paul. He looks very cute. Trust me, he's off camera, but he's cute. So
Dressed in an operator outfit.
he's
today.
dressed in an operator. Oh God, I don't. That's a visual.
Did they have an operator office? I don't know if they did. They do like
Why-
they had.
now
elevator
now I'm
operators had
flashing
a-
on Lily Tomlin.
Oh,
Okay.
God.
Yeah.
You are dating
Hello.
yourself now.
Okay, so I would like to welcome my guest. I've been trying to get this lady on the show for a while, and we didn't even know how much we had in common, actually, when I was trying to get you on the show first, right? Turns out,
Yeah.
oh my God, we know each other forever without knowing each other. So we have a lot of background in common, a lot of common friends, and hopefully some of them are listening today. So if they are, hello everybody, W18G family, common friends. We
Aloha.
appreciate the support. Call in and say hi to Laura. Laura, among many of the accomplishments, I was actually surprised. I looked at a lot of your stuff. You've been involved in a lot of things. You've been very active, author, involved in the local community, activist in terms of, especially after 2016, right? Politically. And man, you've got a lot, and I actually bought your book.
Did you?
Yeah,
Good.
I bought your book.
Awesome.
So, yeah, so
Whole Earth Diet.
I was ready to listen to it yesterday, but it's not audio.
It's not
so it's
audio.
Kindle and
no,
yeah.
sorry.
No,
I
it's
haven't
all
done
right.
that yet.
Okay. I
It's
had to-
450 pages. I haven't read it.
You haven't read it?
I haven't recorded it, I should say. I haven't recorded it for Audible.
Right. So
it's on my list.
So Laura is a LEED certified. People know what that is. LEED certified architect. You have worked for a lot of places that, and we were talking about this before the show, really intense places where you were, like on a daily basis, you're basically challenged, and you got to think outside the box, and you got to find common ground, and you need to problem solve, on a daily basis, right? And where things like budgets and timelines and all these things that that I guess maybe sometimes Congress and Senate don't really have any clue what that is, right? Those are things that are really, we live and breathe that, and we are basically measured by how well we actually can achieve results under those conditions, right? So you, after all this, exciting stuff that you've done, you then foolishly decide to do something else, right?
Well, yeah, I had no
I'm being
choice.
totally sarcastic about this. I'm so glad that you are doing this.
Yes.
But you decide to put your hat in the ring, right? And so what are you doing right now?
Well, I am running for Congress against Dana Rohrabacher in District 48 in Orange County. Which
What? He's been around for 100 years.
I know he has been in there for 100 years, and
Longer.
it is time to retire that guy to his surfboard where he belongs.
And guitar.
And guitar. And there's no better man for that job than a woman. So that's why I'm here.
So let's give
That was a
people-
great line. I hope that's in your campaign. No better job.
Tweet that, guys. Tweet it. Tweet it.
No better
Less than
job.
140
What
characters.
did you say again? Say it again.
No better job for that man than a woman.
There you go.
I like her. She even took on Twitter there for a minute. I like that.
Yeah.
So let's give people the website that they can basically find out about you while we sit down and have this conversation. Where do they find out?
Absolutely. Oatmanforcongress.com. Oatman, F-O-R, Congress.com. You can go there. You can read my story. You can check out my issues, sign up, volunteer, donate, toss $5 at me. It's all good.
So
why is it time for this guy to go? I could give you 100 reasons from
Well,
mine.
hold on a second. I just want to make sure people are spelling it correctly. So Oatman is just like it sounds.
O-A-T-M-A-N. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So oatmanforcongress.com.
.com.
.com.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
So
Paul.
why is it time for a long time? He really has been serving for a long time. I don't know how many years.
So
he's
like
been.
88.
Yeah, something like that.
So like
Okay.
1988.
Yeah.
So why would you say now is the time? Others would say, hey, he's served the district. He's been around forever. He knows, he's worked his way up committee chairmans and all that stuff, I'm sure. I really don't know that much about him other than he certainly represents what I view as the old legacy of right-wing Republican Orange County.
He is the old Orange County, and he does not represent what Orange County is today. Much more progressive, much more diverse. He does not represent Orange County. I would be the representative that would be that face, that voice for change.
So that's a very interesting thing to just expand on. Okay. What is the new Orange County?
The new Orange County is a lot more progressive, a lot more diverse, very, very different than your grandmother or grandfather's Orange County. Thank goodness.
Yeah, but I live in South County. I'm just being a pain right now. Okay, I live in South County.
Now.
I'm throwing stuff at you. Okay, all right. Isn't South County, especially, or Orange County, it's a Republican bastion. I mean, it's all conservative. It's all very
Used to be.
Do I even dare say white?
White and right.
Yeah, but it's different. There's a lot of Republicans, obviously, still. There's a huge middle, no party preference, decline to state. And the issues that I'm running on are issues that are really nonpartisan and really speak to most people that live in this district. My big issues are climate change, jobs, good paying jobs in the economy, and women's rights. And I believe that most people, regardless of party preference, do believe in science here.
Right.
These are intelligent people in this
And
community.
the lack of offshore drilling.
And the lack of offshore drilling.
Okay.
Well, and Dana is a climate change denier. And for me, that was
Yeah.
the reason I'm running is because the day after Trump's inauguration, climate change disappeared off the State Department website. And that was horrifying to me.
Why is science suddenly out and it's cool to be dumb?
Yeah.
Because it challenges your delusion. It bursts the proverbial bubble, Paul. Because if you actually are going to do deductive reasoning, oh my God, perish the thought, that may actually lead to a result that you cannot somehow emotionally attach yourself to. That you may actually have to face the reality that is being told to you by the results, not by the fact that the theory. Prior to doing interiors, okay, I have a degree in economics, okay, and I remember the first thing that we all in economics basically snickered at internally, like it's a truth we know, right? Is that you can actually have a theory that fits the facts, or you can have the facts that fits the theory. Okay, it used to be a joke that you would make the facts fit the theory. It seems to be that the world we live in right now is not where the actual theory is generated from the facts, from the deductive reasoning. Is that I actually formulate the theory, but I don't consider it a theory. I consider it an absolute. And then I go around and try to Mickey Mouse whatever data I can find to make my absolute be true. And I will basically deny anything. I will block myself and shut myself from anything that challenges my absolute. Okay, be it climate change, be it whatever. No, don't bother me with the science. That challenges my little comfortable bubble that I live in. And that goes on and on. It's not only climate only, everything else.
Everything.
And you know what I don't understand? I'm anybody who's listened to the show knows that I'm not a. I guess I'm more a progressive.
This program is brought to you by the California Institute of Technology.
You know, let me go back and let me just say something. When I was brought up in the Midwest, where everybody voted for, all my relatives still voting for Trump, think he's the savior, I viewed myself as a liberal Republican. That didn't used to be a contradiction in terms. Romney's father was the governor of Michigan, was very progressive on social issues, very conservative on fiscal issues. And I think that's where a lot of Americans still fall. I don't know which party speaks to that voice. We got kicked out of the Republican Party, certainly by the time Reagan came in. And since then, in the California Party, it's been a continual purge of purity.
Ronald Reagan wouldn't get elected.
He wouldn't get elected
today.
anymore.
Okay.
So bit by bit, we've ended up with this extreme agenda in the Republican Party. And what I don't understand is this: climate change, of all things. Why do people passionately deny climate change? Is it just because they think it'll be an economic cost to change over our economy, or do they think it's just, again, some smart people trying to tell me how to think and what to do?
What do you think, Laura?
Well, the underlying current to all of this is money, and power. And unfortunately, the fossil fuel industry is so entrenched into our government that everything that we do, all of our taxes are going to subsidize this industry that is not only destroying our environment, but really reducing the possibility of us moving forward. Now, if we have a plan,
there you go,
America,
talking like an architect again.
If we have a plan, the thing about architects, we don't have a single architect in Congress. We have a bunch of attorneys. God love attorneys.
Yeah.
Attorneys
How many
are
architects do we even have on planning commission? Okay, in cities. Okay.
None.
That's interesting.
Even
yeah.
architecture firms are run by attorneys now.
Exactly.
Attorneys are running everything.
Right.
So, but the thing about architects is we do think outside the box. We have creative minds, and we have been trained to take a dream, put together a team, and oftentimes a very diverse team with competing interests, draw up a plan, build it, and make it a reality. That's been what we have done over and over and over throughout our lifetime.
And let me add another layer to that,
Yeah.
Laura, okay? Because you and I know this, but we forget sometimes to mention it. Part of the goals of those results that you're talking about, the plan, what it is that you build, that you create, okay, is that it is sustainable.
Yes.
Because if you build something for a client that then within 2 years becomes obsolete, you will never get another job to do. There's money being invested, there has to be a return on investment, and it has to be sustainable. Where in God's name do we basically have that anywhere in the policies that we do? We run on a friggin' 4-year program. Everything I put in place has to somehow expire at a certain point so that I can justify why you need to hire me again and elect me in order to do it all over again, right? If we actually had policies that it's like this thing with the child health that's now been basically renewed for 6 years. Oh my God! You can't run on that in the next election. No, but you can't run on that on the next election cycle. So it's got to fall in between, right? I can do it on a midterm.
I understand how.
Why do we make decisions that basically impact such a large population of people in such a serious manner? Be it healthcare, be it whatever, and we do it in such a piecemeal approach. None of us doing what we do in planning, conceptualizing, executing, getting buy-in, and actually making it financially viable to execute and do. It's not just pie-in-the-sky concept. Why is it that we have to face the realities of making that sustainable when none of the politicians that basically are passing policy are held to the same measure? Because you give me one person that actually will take that into account when they're applying and formulating policy, and I'll tell you, I'll vote for that person all day long because I don't want to revisit this in 4 years.
So, which is my point. I understand how
Climate change or otherwise.
I understand how the Republican Party can, through Fox and through talk radio and through the constant barrage of misinformation they put out, scare people about immigrants or scare people about Muslims or scare people about China. I understand. I don't believe in the fear, but I understand how they can stoke the fear and get people wound up. I don't know how they have gotten people afraid of climate change. You should be afraid that we're not addressing this. Instead, they have convinced people that this is some evil plot by who?
Yeah, but I don't
and
think.
How does
No,
it?
but Paul-
Why have they made people afraid of climate change?
They haven't made people
Right.
afraid of climate change. That's the problem.
Right.
They have people afraid of these other boogie monsters that don't
Right.
exist.
Right.
You know, the immigrant that's taking their job, but it's
Right.
not. That's not the case.
But I will.
the robot
but,
taking
but,
their
but,
job.
but there's two.
Yeah.
There's two things. Now, first of all, and I've said this on the show before, and you guys both know this, right? I'm non-party preference, right? I think to a certain extent we can all agree. Maybe you guys less. I mean, you're running on as a Democrat for Congress, right? So both parties are guilty of this. Okay, what I just described
Yes.
of leveraging the election cycle to basically justify the continuation and reason for their existence. Okay, when the subject really is about issues and about what that person as a person can do. So
Right.
let me just
and
say,
you've been trying to say for a while that you would like to see people become more issue voters and less party.
You know what?
voters.
I heard it today with my own ears on the news, and I flipped through multiple channels, including Fox. Right? I heard it in my own with
I
my
go
own
through
ears.
that one quickly.
Okay, but here's what I heard. The discussion now is that this next election cycle is on issues. Because after what happened in the Senate the last couple of days with the shutdown and who blames who and who basically sold out and who
Right.
didn't sell out and who left, gave up everything and didn't end up with nothing, right? People are not looking at the parties anymore. They are starting to shift into issues, and I've been saying that for a while. You've heard
I
me,
don't
right?
know if I believe that, but I hope that's true.
Right? I think eventually that's exactly what's going to happen, and it may be as early as 2018. But I will tell you, relevant to climate change, here's my feeling. They're not scaring people about climate change. They're tapping into the people's fear of being somehow in jeopardy. And depending on which party it is, it's the jeopardy of what the environment going down the tubes would cause. And the other side is being regulated to death. And this is just one vehicle by which one side is blaming the other that they're regulating people. So you're tapping into people's fear, not necessarily of the fact that it's, there's a conspiracy about climate change. You're tapping into the fear that they're basically being controlled. So somebody who doesn't want regulation, doesn't want big government, you're tapping into the fear that this is just one way for them to regulate you.
Right.
And the other way, you're tapping into the fear of the fact that it has to be climate change. There's climate change happening. The icebergs are melting. The ocean is rising. We got to do it right away. Right? And probably, to be honest, the truth is probably somewhere in between. But each party is politicizing the issue for their own possible
But
gain.
99%.
I'm not saying that we don't have an issue with climate change. Yes, there is a big problem with carbon footprint and climate change, and the fact that we are basically need to abandon stupid things like fossil fuels for alternative energy sources. And the sooner we do it, the sooner we are leaders in it. Right?
But we're back to the Scopes monkey trial, the famous trial of the 1920s or 1930s, Clarence Darrow versus William Jennings Bryan, who ran for, who was the last populist running. He was a Democrat in those days, running to protect the rights of the little rural people against the evil big cities and the immigrants and all that before the Democratic Party switched from its agrarian base and became the party of the big cities.
Give it another 20 years, we'll go the other way.
So William Jennings Bryan went down and argued, on a religious reason that evolution had to be wrong, because it contradicted the Bible. And people chose, for a long time, and he won that trial, people chose belief over science. And we've got 99% of the world's scientists say this is unquestionably changing because of the emergence of third world countries and their rapid use of coal and carbon-based fuels. They're doing what we did. they're saying, and they're saying, well, you can't hold us down. You didn't do anything about it. You polluted the world, and now you want everybody not to do the same because we just want to catch up with you here. So there's an impetus to do this. There's also an opportunity, and that's what the Chinese have suddenly started to grasp. The Chinese, who are among the most polluting in the world.
Why would we put tariffs on solar panels?
Because we want to kill the solar industry.
We want to kill the industry in California. Everything that has been happening with this current administration has been just
aimed at California.
California.
Did the president come out and show sympathy for the fires that were out here? No.
No, not a single word.
Did not even mention anything about it.
The mudslide recently in Santa Barbara.
My only question to the president is, are immigrants lower on the tier than Californians, or is Californians lower than immigrants? I mean, how is it? Where does Puerto Rico fall in that?
Yeah. I'm telling you that having grown up in the Midwest, there has always been a hatred of California. They kind of kiddingly say, "Oh, you're going to fall off the earth," but they hate
the land of fruits and nuts,
and nuts and flakes and all that kind of stuff. So if
basking in the sun while you guys are freezing your butt.
Yeah, exactly. and so a lot of that is a jealousy.
And I have family in Chicago,
because if they admitted that life was better out here, then they'd have to ask themselves why they stay back there or why they don't try and change and catch up.
So that's one item that you definitely differ with Dana on.
Yes.
Okay, what other things are on your platform?
Let me just stop for a second. So Dana Rohrabacher, who is well known to be a big surfer, who I would think loves the environment in the oceans because he spends so much time there.
Maybe he likes the rising ocean.
How could he be for
drilling
oil and oil spills in the ocean? We fought that battle when I came here in the early 80s when the Republicans last ran the state, and we had giant oil spills, and we had pollution, and we had DDT spills, and we had all this kind of crap polluting our ocean. Took us 30, 40 years to clean all that mess up. Why do we want to go back to that? Yeah. How can they convince? Here's another one. Again, you got to explain this to me.
Didn't Trump have hold on a second. Didn't Trump have a piece of property in Palos Verdes for a while?
Yeah, the famous golf course.
That ended up being Ternay, right?
Yes,
right.
Okay. He did.
So I wonder whether we would be basically exempted just like Florida if actually he had a piece of property in Palos Verdes that he built.
There you go.
So here's another one. I'd love to see your
because that's how you do national policy, right? Where do I have property? I don't want to see an oil well from my master suite presidential suite.
Do you remember when he had that plan for a hotel he was going to build down in Baja California?
Yeah.
No, I don't remember that.
You remember that? It was maybe 20 years ago or so, something like that.
Yeah.
And he took a lot of money from a lot of retirees to build that thing, and then went bankrupt, decided he couldn't build it.
Yeah, but the retirees are from California, so they deserve it.
That's true. They do.
So here's another one, and I'd be curious on your opinion on this one. So, again, I still don't understand how they have convinced. I think Rod's onto something. It's the fear of regulation. It's the fear of government.
Yeah.
And so nobody's going to tell me what to do, and I'm just going to do this until I can't do it anymore.
Unless it comes to your private life, then it's fine to
Which is what happened to the environment movement in the 70s. It stopped being a left-wing tree hugger movement in the 70s when Love Canal in Erie and other places, when ordinary housewives and people start stepping up and saying, you're poisoning our children, you're polluting our water and our air, it changed.
Paul, but here's the thing, right?
When
it comes to non-regulation, right? Because that's what they pride themselves on, is like lower regulation, smaller government, right?
Protections, not
when
regulations.
It came to Sessions basically having an issue with cannabis.
Oh, yeah, right.
Okay, and this administration basically once again cracking on California's door, relevant to, no, you don't get to make $15 billion additional for cannabis. No, because, oh, wait, hold on. Doesn't the federal government get like 75 cents or we get back 75? They get 25 cents on every single one of those $15 billion, right?
Right.
That's collected.
They're all for states' rights unless the rights are ours and we...
But Dana...
It's not the rights they want.
That's the one issue Dana's got right.
Dana's got right.
Yeah,
he's like, no,
only...
right? And he wrote that and voted against it because it's like small government, no interference, blah, 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 right?
Right, so, states' rights.
So it's got to be a pretty crazy time for a Republican to be running for re-election or election in the state of California right now, in 2018.
What do you have to stand on?
I mean, it's you got to be like at the very least conflicted.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So let me give you another one.
I want to move off the climate change.
We're going to move off the climate change. We have a lot of officials come through here. We've had a number of people come through from the Huntington Beach City Council, and they proudly part
of your district
passed reversed the prior council's decision to ban what was it, plastic bags in Huntington Beach, which I think has now gone to a state referendum, right? And we're going to consider banning plastic bags statewide. But Huntington Beach was one of the first to ban them, and then they got a swung right, and they had a right-wing Republican council take over, and they proudly, excitedly came in here and said, "We killed it. We squashed it. You can now have plastic bags again. Hooray!"
That's why I live in San Clemente and not Huntington Beach.
Why is the average citizen supposed to say yippee? More trash, more pollution, more crap piling up everywhere here.
See, the Republican Party has been very smart the last few years, kind of taking over a lot of our local city councils, working very quietly and building up their ground forces here. And unfortunately, I don't believe that city council represents the majority of the constituents in Huntington Beach, because I've been out there talking to them, and I know that they are very environmentally conscious. They love their beaches, they love their environment, they love clean air, clean water, just like we do.
Who wouldn't?
And so the city council is not representing their best
Yeah, but
interests right
Laura,
now.
all you have to do is look at your district, okay, and look at what cities were included in the district before 2013, and how that district was redistricted in 2013. Right? I mean, I looked at the district, and if anybody wants to go find out for yourself, look up the 48th district on Wikipedia, and see how many times it has been redistricted.
Yeah.
Okay, why do you redistrict something if it isn't to maintain power and influence? Okay, and I look at the cities that were kicked out and the cities that were included, and I'm going, yes, it's smart, but it's also very manipulative. Right?
Absolutely.
And it's not limited, by the way, to the city council level. And again,
No,
I will emphasize, this isn't something that only one party is guilty of doing.
Right.
It's shades and degrees and success rates, because both play the same friggin' game. The end of the day,
Holding on to power, right.
as a voter, as a citizen, I am sick and tired of a rigged system.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to be able to vote for somebody that is bringing substance to that role, that can bring some skills that are applicable and timely, because, again, the role changes and what is emphasized and prioritized is different depending on any election cycle. But at least be able to vote for the person who is best likely to handle the issues at hand that we need to take care of. Okay, things like homelessness, things like healthcare, things like mental health, things like an aging population that needs to have the support. And one of the things that you have is you wrote a book about healthy eating and beyond. It's not just limited to eating. Actually, it has multifacets, and it's very well regarded. By the way, what is that book? If you don't mind, let's give it up.
Whole Earth Diet.
Whole Earth Diet.
Whole Earth Diet, and it's Laura Oatman.
Yeah.
Is my author's name.
And
it's a holistic approach to
yeah.
an individual's health. And it's interesting. I wrote that book, I think it was 2009, 2010, shortly after. You know our story. My husband and I both got laid off in the Great Recession. We both worked for large architectural firms that you are aware of. And so we started Oatman Architects in 2009. And I had a couple years where we were just barely getting by. We were struggling back to our feet. And I had some free time. We had one house come in the first year, one house come in the second year. And I was sitting there thinking, I've got to do something. I've got to do something. So
So you write a 500.
So I wrote a 500-page book in
a weekend.
In a weekend, because I felt like at least things seemed to be somewhat out of control with the economy, but I thought at least I can get a handle on my own personal health, and started to research that. Went back to school, studied nutrition, studied holistic health and wellness, and decided, I think others might be able to benefit from this knowledge too, because I'm not the only one right now that's going through a tough time.
Absolutely.
And the first thing you do when you're going through a challenge is to take care of yourself.
Yep.
So that book is about holistic health. And now, post-Trump, I'm hoping I can take that holistic mindset and approach policy and public policy with that holistic mindset. You can't keep doing these little Band-Aid approaches here and there.
Right.
Like homelessness. You can't just go build a 50-room transitional housing shelter and say you're done. You have to look at the root causes of homelessness.
Or clear out, exactly, absolutely. Or clear out the Santa Ana riverbed because it's an eyesore and it's getting bad publicity, and then not really have a plan in place to not only house these people but then transition them to better. Okay, and if you have Excuse me. We had a guest here. We had Sir Bruno Serrato on the show
from the White House,
and his
a CNN hero for the feeding the homeless out of his restaurant.
Anaheim, and he basically he was feeding it out of his restaurant, and his restaurant burned down. And he continued the mission with his nonprofit, and he's basically working with the diocese, and he has the kitchen from the former Crystal Cathedral, basically where he's operating out of. But he didn't stop there. He didn't just he's not just feeding the kids. He's also basically helping families transition out of the motels, right? There has to be a bigger plan. There has to be a longer-term plan to transition people. Now, I'm not saying that everybody who's homeless and on the street is going to want to participate. I'm not saying that every single one of them is basically not by choice on the street. There are some that are, but that's not every case. And yet we paint with a wide brush everybody. We say not in my backyard, and we say we're just going to put them on a bus and get them out of that Santa Ana River, and then what? And then what? Right? And there has to be visionary, big plan solutions that exist at every level.
But
the supervisor level is another problem in the county.
But
right?
that would take.
It's not just the city council level. That is just completely ridiculous.
To be a visionary, though, you'd need somebody like an architect who could see the vision, and build something.
You know what?
We don't have any architects.
I'm going to make reference
not
to
yet.
I'm going to make reference to a professor, and I better get this thing right because he has since passed away, but I think he will strike me down anyway. When I went to business school, one of the people that I had the fortune to actually take a couple of classes from was a gentleman by the name of Peter Drucker.
You're always dropping Peter Drucker's name,
dude. You know what? Sue me.
You and Peter.
All right, me and Peter. We were like this. But Peter Drucker used to say that if you want to predict the future, I think I'm going to get this right. If you want to predict the future, create it.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Okay.
I never heard that.
We sit there and we try to basically predict the future, and we try to basically backcast, not really forecasting when you're using back data to basically come up with what's going to happen in the future, right? But if you want to predict the future, then create it. In order to create something, you have to have the willingness to risk. You have to have the willingness to possibly get egg on your face and not worry about whether, you're getting good vibes from Fox or God knows what, right? Or, how am I trending? How am I trending today? Yeah. Wait. Did I ask how I'm trending today 10 times already today? Did it change since 2 o'clock in the afternoon? Okay. Yeah. You have to risk. You gotta operate without a net. So I will tell you, I will give this to the president, right? The 8x10 looks like I'm a go-getter, I'm an outside-of-the-box thinker,
disruptor.
I march to my own drum. I disrupt, but I disrupt with the a better benefit and a better outcome in mind.
I'm a billionaire. I'm a builder.
Right.
All those things.
Yeah.
So the billing is that.
Not beholden.
Okay. And I've known about him since The Art of the Deal first came out, and I happened to be in business school, and it was required reading. Right. There's something about an 8x10 glossy, and when the rubber meets the road. And I will tell you, and Laura will probably echo this, is that when you're sitting working on something, coming up with something, there's a lot of failures. There's a lot of setbacks. There's a lot of stuff. But the energy that you continue forward, you continue to plug for that better outcome, and you don't give up, and you don't sell out, and you don't get bought out for this or that. You stay focused on what that mission is, right? What you take your pick. We handle stuff in a horrible manner in terms of long-term positive benefit for the majority of people. Homelessness, nutrition, education, environment. Right. So short-minded, so short-sighted.
Short-term gain for the 0.01%.
I mean, we're talking about burying radioactive waste in the sand, in canisters in the sand in San Onofre. I'm sorry, metal canisters, seawater. Okay, sand is permeable. Okay. Yeah. Okay. What part of this?
As long as they bury them in your backyard, not mine, I don't care.
But I got a newsflash for you. Your backyard is my backyard. Okay, you're going nowhere if something.
So we've been going on ranting and raving while we were looking for new change. We're looking for holistic approaches. Let's let her.
Why should people vote for you?
Because I have a plan. And I think we all are born and we all think, when I leave this earth, I want to make sure it's a better place than when I arrived. And right now, we are on a runaway train the opposite direction of where we should be going.
I agree with you.
Making America great again is taking America backwards again. It's fostering and promoting industries of the past, a mindset of the past, and we can't be afraid to move forward and to think about progress and to think about where are we headed.
But all those coal miners are going to be employed again.
Well, yeah,
Not.
but not. Think of all the solar panel folks here in California that are losing their jobs. I think it was something like 750,000 jobs are being lost because of this recent tariff. You know, when we're going through a massive shift like we are, it really is a shift in our economy, and we need to continue to move forward with that shift as we are moving away from...
As painful as the shift may
As
be.
painful as it is, of course it's going to be painful, but we all need to think ahead and figure out where are we going. Some of these jobs, some of these industries are going to be lost. We didn't worry about that when we started imposing taxes on cigarettes, right?
You know what I'm reminded of, Laura. This is something it'll probably resonate with you. Some people may not have this reference, but I'm going to use it anyway because I think it's very appropriate given the fact that it's architectural based. Okay, and ironically, it's actually written by somebody who is the darling of the Republican extreme left right wing. Okay. Ayn Rand, Ayn Rand Fountainhead.
Yes.
Okay. Progressive architect.
Yeah, right. As an architect,
Dares to build modern. Okay. And gets shut down by a person who basically has a bully pulpit of a newspaper. Not the owner of the newspaper, mind you, but the person who is deciding what gets written in that newspaper, right? And if anybody wants to go watch that thing, it's called The Fountainhead. It's a great movie, great cinematography, black and white. So I apologize for the lack of color for those who are interested in only color.
Gary Cooper.
I don't think I ever saw the movie. I read the book.
Oh,
of
yeah.
course.
Gary
Well,
Cooper.
You can read. You can definitely read the book. You can get it on audio right after you buy Laura's book. You buy Fountainhead, but you know, it just tied you up with Ayn Rand right there. Right, but it's written by Ayn Rand.
Right.
Okay, which is the darling of the right-wing Republican arm, right? And it talks about rugged individuality. It talks about daring, having a plan, veering away from what it is. What we are talking about today, what Laura touched on, is we are going backwards. We're going back to the 50s. We're basically acting like that person who is controlling what text and what copy goes into the newspaper and saying, you person who's willing, you California, you people in California, anybody who is willing to think beyond, to envision a better, a different, okay? No. You don't get to do that. We're going to punish you for actually leading the way.
We want same thinking. We want similar minds, not dissimilar.
Loyalty.
Right. Loyalty, yeah.
It's all about profit for that 0.01%. We need to think beyond that. And that's, unfortunately, that is why we need to get money out of politics.
Well, that's true.
We need to reform our election process.
So where do you stand on that? Where do you stand on, like, term limits? Where do you stand on...
money in politics.
Yeah, money politics, lobbying.
Yeah, I'm living through that right now, you know.
Citizens United, where corporations...
Well, I mean, you say you have a plan. Those are part of the plan, right? I mean...
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
I need to get into Congress. We need to flip those seats from red to blue and get a more progressive-minded Congress in place so that we can overturn Citizens United, so that we can stop thinking about corporations do not equal people. Free speech is not equal to money. Those are two big concepts that we need to embed into our Constitution because we need to come back. I mean, really, the basis of a democracy is free and fair elections.
I'm actually okay.
And right now,
we
don't have those.
I'll tell you something. I'm okay with Citizens United staying as long as every one of those companies becomes unionized.
Well, okay. I hadn't thought about that, actually. But
You want Citizens United? Companies have the same rights as people. Every company should be unionized.
Okay, well, that's an interesting take.
There you go. I don't need to fix
it.
I'll just put that additional element in it.
But right now, I mean, it's pure bribery. If you
no wall, no DACA, no Citizens United if you don't have unions.
Yeah, why corporations are viewed? I know in the law they're viewed as an entity, as a person, as a corporate body, and therefore they have accrued the same rights, artificial rights as individuals. But then to extend that over to from civil law to
wait till artificial intelligence kicks in.
I just don't know how they convince...
Which is the topic of the day at Davos today.
How they convince the majority of of old white people, like most of my friends and relatives, to support an agenda that is not in their interest at all. Trump will not. Trump will not.
Again, it's
and
the
by
whole
fear.
fear.
By
It's
fear.
the fear. It's the fear factor.
Fear of the unknown. Fear of the brown skin. Fear of the person.
Fear of
who's-
the other.
Yeah,
right.
fear of the other. The us against them.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean that if you take anything,
Trust nobody but me. The courts are crooked. The press is crooked. The Democrats are crooked. The Republican
if you're
Party
not,
is
if you're
crooked.
not, if you-
Everybody's
if you're
crooked
not,
but
if
me.
you're not with us, you're against us, and it's an insidious plan.
Right. It really
Okay,
is.
because what it does is it tears at the core fabric of togetherness,
Yes.
which is the basic underlining element of the union.
That's what made us great.
Of
that
the
we
democracy.
Can bring me your huddled masses yearning to be free. Give me the poor, the bottom of the
Nobody
barrel,
uses the word together anymore.
and
you know
we'll
that?
bring them all
Right.
together and
Unity.
and through opportunity and freedom, we will turn them into the greatest nation in America. That's what made America great.
So for the cynic, Laura. Okay, I'm just going to okay. For the cynic that says, yeah, but you're talking about flipping the seats, and you're talking about having more Democrats, but what about the institutionalized side of that party? I mean, you're talking about progressives that have had a hard time within the party even to get traction.
You Bernie voter, you.
Hey,
You Bernie voter, you.
yeah, I'm doing the little Bernie thing, but I mean, no, seriously, what do you say to that? Because okay, I'm an independent. Okay, I really have no party loyalty one way or the other. I
But
don't.
you were
and
passionate
I was.
You were passionate about Bernie.
Yeah, but I voted. Look, I voted for Clinton. I voted for Bush. I voted for Bush Senior. I voted for Reagan twice. I mean, I voted for Obama twice. You know, I mean, the point of this is, and I voted for Bernie. Okay, okay. Sorry, kill me, Hillary
you
Clinton
Bernie.
supporters, right? But for those who say, I'm an independent. I'm looking at the person. I'm looking at the thing. I even have a little resentment. I kind of touched on it. We touched on it a little bit earlier. I have a resentment that somebody's basically, endorsed by one or the other. What do you say to those that say the Democratic Party hasn't been nice to progressives either? And you're running on a progressive platform,
Yeah.
and you, my God, have a plan,
You know,
and you got answers for things. I mean, how dare you?
I'll tell you the truth. I don't like labels.
Yeah.
I don't even like to be compared to other politicians, other electeds. I don't like saying, because I get asked a lot, well, did you support Hillary or did you support Bernie? And I always answer both. I think that the thing that's missing right now in Washington is the ability to have a conversation. I wish we could go back to the days. And I do believe that there should be a voice on the left and on the right to balance each other. It's important that we have balance. And I wish we could go back to the days where we have strong opinions on both sides.
Right.
But yet we can still talk about to each other and come up with a plan.
Where the other
And
side isn't evil.
it's not evil.
No.
And so instead of always thriving on fear, right now the conversation is fear this side and fear this side, and how are we going to, we have to combat the other side because of fear.
Right.
But what about if we have something positive,
Right.
a positive vision, which is what I'm presenting with my Envision America 2050 plan, talking about a vision for America 30 years from now. What is it going to look like 30 years from now? And, I'm not going to be a spring chicken in 30 years, but I plan to be here because of my healthy diet. I'm going to live to be 100, and I
Buy
want
the
to
book.
see my grandchildren born and my great-grandchildren born, and I want to know that they are going to be living in a country that's healthy, that's peaceful, that's prosperous. So where's it going to be in 50 years? And I don't think that's a partisan conversation.
Not
I
at
think
all, actually.
everybody wants a
Common
healthy,
ground, yeah.
peaceful, prosperous nation for their children and their grandchildren.
So where do you see the potential to flip this county? Is it in getting more Republicans to vote Democratic, or is it what Rod's always saying and so many others saying, it's that giant group in the middle, which we had what's his name, Kelly, I can't even think, what's the title, the guy who runs the elections here in this county.
County clerk.
No, he's not the county clerk.
Who are you talking about?
Registrar of
Registrar
voters.
of
Registrar of Voters.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. And isn't it? I've forgotten his first name. And his last name's Kelly. Anyway, well, he was in here and he talked about how the real change in this county hasn't been one side flipping to the other. It's one group saying it's Rod, a pox on both parties, declined to refuse to state or declined to clay state. The largest group of registered voters in this county are not Republicans anymore or Democratic. They are declined to state.
Well, the Democratic Party has held their ground. The Republican Party has been shedding people for the last 8 years with Obama because the Republican Party, I'm sorry, the emperor has no clothes. The Republican Party has gone to more and more extremes.
Right.
The Republican Party brought in the Tea Party because they needed a base because they were floundering. I'm going to say it again. If the Democrats had ran like a Bernie or like a Biden, there wouldn't have been the catalyst of, justified or otherwise, of the hate towards Hillary that is institutionalized in the Republican voter.
Right.
That would have basically, the Republican Party would not have survived the last election.
Right.
The Republican Party themselves were stunned and surprised that Trump actually won.
Because he tapped into an
and
anger
if you don't
that
believe me,
everybody
look at the
overlooked.
hesitation to toe the line that happened the first half of 6 months of this administration.
Well, if 2016 taught us nothing else, it's that this is not politics as usual.
Right.
It's not.
This is a completely different world.
Right.
The pollsters can tell you one thing. The talking heads
Means
can tell
nothing.
you something. It means nothing.
Right.
People are starved for real, for authenticity,
Yes.
Very
for
much so.
normal. And I think
That's what people seek on social media. We say it all the time on podcasts and on
Yeah.
YouTube and everything.
they want real.
They want real.
They don't care what you call yourself or who you voted for. They just want real. And they want somebody that is positive, that has a vision, that has a plan, and wants to, is doing it for the right reasons.
I hope we
suppose.
come back to that vision.
And so I think the example that you gave as far as the process by which we basically develop answers architecturally or we make a plan is very applicable. Because especially if you are operating at a high level of sophistication, the results that you get, the stuff that we put out, has that. It may be newly built, but it is authentic versus cardboard front with no substance behind it. Okay? That's a billboard. Okay, that's not what we do, and when you operate at that level. So no, absolutely, I think anybody who is saying, well, what has architecture got to do with it? Step back for a minute and really listen to what we're saying. You have to have a plan. You have to have a vision and an idea where you're going. You have to have a sustainability aspect to that,
Right,
and it has to be beneficial, and it has to be a compromise between, if you were building a building, the operational side of it, the cost side of it, the budget side of it, the fact that it needs to be built by a certain time, the fact that there has to be regulations that are met, things that are basically massaged, all of this stuff.
It's a very holistic
It's
process.
a very holistic
But let me
process.
ask you the hard question. In a world that thrives on negativity right now,
And chaos.
and fear, and chaos, where that's how you get people motivated. You get them scared or frightened or angry and pull them apart. That's what both parties are trying to do, make people angry and mad and think. How do you get anywhere saying, let's bring people together and let's be positive? That seems so obvious, and yet right now it seems to be the
It
opposite of
seems
what we're doing.
almost naive.
Yeah, it does. But yet there's going to be things happening this year that are going to drive my message. My platform is really about solving, or not solving, but addressing climate change with a plan,
Right.
with jobs, with a new economy, with rebuilding
Which all
infrastructure.
sounds so appealing.
It sounds good, but what we're also going to be seeing in the news on a daily basis are these extreme weather patterns. We're going to feel it this summer again, as every single year it gets hotter and hotter. Every year is a record-breaking year in terms
Yeah.
of global temperatures. I don't have to say a word to drive that fear. People sooner or later are going to wake up and say, you know what? There is something happening here. We don't, maybe you can
everybody
debunk the
admits it, yeah.
science or
Right.
whatever, but when you start to live it and feel it, I've lived in the same house for 26 years now. Never had to use the air conditioning when we first moved in. Now, 3-4 months out of the year, it runs every single day. The weather
what
is
city
changing.
do you live in?
Newport Beach.
Okay.
And every single day, we're going to start to see these extreme weather, hurricanes, floods, wildfires, like
Droughts.
we've never seen before.
Yeah.
People have short memories, but I hope that people really think about this as we see these weather patterns change.
Well,
What's happening?
I'll answer your question, Paul, in another way. We say, well, why, and in a period of fear and anger and chaos and all this stuff. There was a period in history called the Dark Ages. Okay, marauders, lawlessness, all this stuff. We even had it in this country called the Wild West. Okay,
Right.
Humanity goes through these things. Okay, at some point or the other, the level of saturation, the breaking point, occurs. And the minute that happens, whether genuine and or nefarious, the person that stands up and gives you the
way out,
optimism,
the way out,
the way out, the promise of a better future, taps into the need for people to hear that. So what we need to make sure that during this time of chaos and pessimism and negativity and darkness is that we don't let that light die, because at some point or the other, the people are going to be hungry for that message. It may not be 2018, it may not be 2020, but slowly, more and more people are going to want that. You don't believe me? Watch any apocalyptic movie that Hollywood has ever put out, right? Yeah. There's always a desire on a human level for a better tomorrow. And if you continue to tell me the sky is falling, I'm going to pay attention and I'm going to look at you for leadership to avoid that falling on my head. But at some point, I'm going to want more than the sky is falling.
Right. Well, it sounds like she's got a plan. So how do they see your plan? Where do they find your plan? If you've mentioned it many times.
Give the website again, Laura.
The website is oatmanforcongress.com. We are in the midst of revamping our website, so I'm about to add. You won't see Envision America 2050 on there. It'll be on in the next week or so. So if you don't see it there, don't panic. It's coming. And
how did you formulate the plan? Is this just you thinking things through? Did you bring in other people?
No, I've got a lot of, this is where I tap back into my resources from the firm that I used to work for. I've got a lot of ex-colleagues, still very good friends that worked on a variety of sustainable hotels and communities around the world. The last project I was working on was
master planning. How do you sustain properties that are not tapped into a grid? So forth and so on.
Yeah. The last project I was working on was a hotel in Masdar City in Abu Dhabi, which was 100% carbon-free city. So I have this wealth of experience and connections, really, that I'm tapping back into to help me to formulate some serious policy here. And
who else is running? Because I'm assuming that everybody thinks all of these Republicans, they're the prime target in the 2018 Democratic hope to take back the House.
There was a list of 13 that was put out, basically.
Mimi Walters is high on the list.
Two of them,
Rohrabacher.
They're retiring.
Royce and
Royce,
they're stepping away. Yeah. So, but how many? There are a lot of people running as far as at least the primary, right?
Yeah, for the primary, there are 8 Democrats, 2 Republicans, an independent, a libertarian. So it's a crowded field.
Yeah. And when is the primary?
The primary is June 5th. I separate myself a little bit from the pack. I used to be the only woman in the race up until about 2 weeks ago. There was another woman that jumped in. At that point, I was the only woman. But in a way, it's good. Having another woman, I can't rest on my laurels of being the only woman.
Right.
Now I have to make myself an even better candidate, which I feel that I'm doing.
And how do you get the word out in that's been a problem in Orange County here. That's one of the reasons we created this station. There isn't really a voice of Orange County. The paper has struggled in the past years, been through several bankruptcies. It's rumored to be on the block again soon. There hasn't been too many outlets. As large a county as we are, there isn't sort of a gathering place. There isn't a public space. There isn't a place or a voice where people go, we're trying to fill that role here.
How are you getting the word out?
Well, that's going to be where we utilize a combination of really old school and really new school. So we're going to be utilizing high-tech technology. We're going to be getting the message out with Facebook, Twitter, utilizing technology to our best advantage.
Podcasts like this. Right.
And then old school. We're going to be out there starting February 1st. I myself personally am going to dedicate at least 6 hours a day knocking on doors, going to coffee shops, going to pancake breakfasts. It's going to be one on the ground.
I believe so much in that old-fashioned idea. Get out and meet the people.
And that is also something that a lot of people are complaining about with existing people that are in office, is that they basically are elected, and then they're basically absent.
Well, because they moved to Washington.
They're absent from their thing.
Particularly in California.
Hold a town hall. Like Dana Rohrabacher won't even hold a town hall.
So
I'll be the opposite of that. I mean, I'm out there on social media all the time. I'm responding to people. When I have my office here in District 48, I'm going to always have my door open. Doesn't matter if you agree with me, disagree with me. There'll always be a strong
Give us some of
pot
the cities
coffee
in
and
District 48. Obviously, Huntington Beach is one. I know that.
we start at the far north in Seal Beach, Sunset Beach, Huntington, Newport, Laguna Beach, also Laguna Niguel, Aliso Viejo, Costa Mesa, Fountain Valley,
Santa Ana.
pieces of Santa Ana, Garden Grove, and Westminster,
Wow.
Midway City. It's pretty big.
So you've got an ethnically diverse group of people, too, when you're
Yes, we
talking
do.
of Santa Ana and other sorts of Hispanic areas, when you're talking about Fountain Valley and the Vietnamese communities here, when you're talking about the typical affluent surfer beach communities up and down, the really beach communities that I picture.
But
here.
you know what? I'm speaking for Laura here probably, but I think it's probably true. Is that is actually an exciting thing. You have that diversity. It's actually very exciting to have that diversity and to be able to bridge that diversity and pull the goodness out of all that and bring it
and to
to
find
bear.
the common themes that they all are looking
It's
for.
very
Yeah.
powerful. I mean,
Yeah.
Again, I've been listening to a lot of live feed podcasts from Davos today. Okay, and a lot of the stuff that's innovation and stuff that they're talking about, and talking about open source and open, like, not having things that are protected and sharing it and science and all this stuff. And one of the things that keeps recurring as a common theme, I don't know how the president's going to deal with this over there, is diversity,
Yeah.
cross-border, open source.
Well, because more ideas
non-protectionism,
are
non-nationalism.
better. More
Yes.
is better than less.
And
Well,
we
that's
have
the beauty of America, is
Right.
the diversity. And
Right.
I'm so
The strength
glad
of
that
America.
it's changing here in Orange County, that we are getting more diverse. We're about 20% Spanish-speaking, about close to 20% of an Asian community, mostly Vietnamese. I think it's amazing. So we have this, I'm really the long-term local in this race,
Yeah.
too. I've lived here for over 40 years, 42 years now. And I completely get that unique Orange County surf, Asian fusion, Persian,
And
Latino culture that we have here.
And
that
the
we
one
need
thing
to-
that I don't think people quite appreciate in other parts of the country, I do
Yeah,
because
it's
I grew up
definitely
in the
different.
Midwest.
Yeah.
You need to know it and be immersed in it.
One
to
of the
really get it,
vibes
yeah.
that is so powerful out here, and because I've talked to my friends in the Midwest a lot as we've reconnected through the years through Facebook and whatnot. I grew up in Michigan. Most of my friends still
We
live
won't
back
hold
there.
that
Most of my
against you.
relatives, they're all Trump fanatics. And one of the things I had to realize is California, more than anything else, is about the quality of life. We all could maybe make more money, go somewhere else, or we could all save money by moving somewhere else. We could get a bigger house for less money. We could there's lots of economic reasons to go somewhere else, and sometimes that gets to people and say, well, I guess I'm going to cash in and move out and go to Oregon or something. But it's that quality of life that we place above all else.
Yeah.
The weather, the things that are here, the things that keep
the lack
us.
of an oil rig in my
Yeah,
line of
right.
sight out of my window.
You start putting oil rigs in the thing, that quality of life is going to change.
The
yeah.
fact that there's organic farming, the fact that there's alternative energy sources, the fact that there's mass transportation to take the pressure off my streets. Okay,
Right.
Add to that the fact that it's an aging population that basically now is in less danger of driving because they have other options. I'm not taking away your driving license, but I'm giving you other alternative options that if you are really honest with yourself, you'll probably use more, especially if they're empowering and get you where you want versus just 9 to 5 to the office and back.
And
right?
we're connected to the
It's
future.
quality of life.
We're
It's all
connected to the
quality of
world
life
here.
driven.
Yeah. We're
Yeah.
connected to the world here. We like the ethnic diversity, the different foods. We like many of us make our money off of import and export. We're doing business around the world. We're creating tomorrow's technologies today.
But
I think
Go
a
ahead,
lot of
Laura.
us are well traveled too. So we
Yeah.
have visited different parts of the world, and we
Right.
appreciate different cultures in a way that perhaps other folks are not so fortunate to have had that experience.
But
to
sometimes
understand.
sometimes in the United States of today, you don't really have to get on a plane and go somewhere. You have diversity in your own neighborhood
True.
if you actually embrace it.
Right.
You have the ability to have that cultural experience if you just embrace your neighbor who doesn't have the same background, whether it be Vietnamese, Cambodian. I mean, it's really funny, but we absorb Cambodian, we absorb Vietnamese. We have no issue with that. But it used to be that we had a problem with Italians and Irish. Now we don't
Right.
have a problem with Italian and Irish. And then we had a problem with Vietnamese and shrimp boaters in Texas and all this stuff. Now we
Right.
don't have a problem with that. But now then, the latest one is, Middle
recent
Eastern
wave.
and Muslim or whatever.
Right.
Right. And somehow we still have an issue with the south of the border. It's like, was
Right.
it the Mexican-American War still going on?
Yeah,
what's going on,
exactly.
right? But I mean, it's really interesting. because
As
at
if
the end-
as if they're the invaders. We invaded their land.
the
This
end-
this was Mexico
at
before it was
end-
the United States.
At the end, But we didn't even buy it with beads, did we? I mean,
No,
like
we just took it.
Native
No, we
Americans,
took it.
right? But there's an aspect of this that really is common ground. It's quality of life. Right?
Yes, quality
Okay.
of life.
The
is
reason
what
why you
sets us
don't want to
apart.
see an oil rig in your window, it doesn't have anything to do with whether you're Republican or Democrat. You don't want to do that.
No.
Okay, you just don't. You want to be able to have alternative forms of energy that are cost effective, that basically don't.
And we don't
cost
want
you
to
an arm
see
and
the
a leg.
return of pollution, and we don't want to see the return of poisoned oceans, and we don't want to. We value all of that, even more so than others. That's why we moved here for
I'm
that
telling
quality.
you, part of it is being punished for being able to see beyond, and I think has always been California's curse, is that we don't have the rooting that happens in the East Coast. We don't have families that have been born and raised within 3 miles or
Generations,
10
yeah.
miles of each other.
Right.
You have people, go west, young man, make your future, places that used to be basically, stomping grounds for cattle that basically ran through the middle of Los Angeles that become towns, right? It's the West Coast, and it's not just California, the northwest coast as well, it's always been unrestricted, unheld back by these conventional things.
It's about
We're
tomorrow.
forward thinking
We're-
here.
right?
That's why we came across on covered wagons. For
Right. That's
many
why
of
we
our
didn't
ancestors
stay
came
back-
across the
yeah.
country fearless.
So when you have people
know?
stuck in the past, whether they are stuck in the past because they are of a certain age and they don't want to change, whether it's because they have a sense of loyalty to a gone by era, whatever it is, nostalgia is always better back in the air. That is something that we here are not limited to. And I honestly think it scares, again, it's the issue of fear.
But
You
can I-
are forward and thinking, and I cannot get myself to go there, and I'm afraid of what it is that you can do.
But let me give you a warning.
So I'm gonna punish you, because now I have the reins
that
of power right now.
futurism, that embrace of the future, can quickly fade. I grew up in Detroit. Everybody sees Detroit as old, burned out, rust belt, stuck in the past, and in many ways it is. And yet, when my father was born in 1920, it was the Middle West. It was the Midwest before there was a
But
West.
it rested on its laurels, Paul. And
In the
that's
1920s, it was the most exciting place to be. Henry Ford's inventing manufacturing. The whole automobile industry is being born. The real estate industry was creating as people moved up and they created tract homes. And it was the most innovative, it was the Silicon Valley of its time.
Right, and it got stuck in its way of
So
doing
we
things
can do the
over
same
and over
if
and
we
over.
fall back into this fear of holding on. And I see some of that in Orange County right now here, where aging baby boomers are suddenly saying, I got mine, I'm going to hold on to it. I don't want to see things change. I don't want to see the character of our community change.
But holding on to it, and I tell this to people all the time, okay? I live in San Clemente. San Clemente is very much trying to hold on to the thing. There's a lot of
Right.
historical component to it, right? You have a choice. The choice is as follows. You either step up to the table and you grab a seat and you basically navigate the change. You have some say-so in what that change is
Right.
and how it is shaped. Or somebody else is going to decide for you.
Yes.
Right? If you bury your head in your lap and you sit in your lazy boy and you watch everything through the filter of your bubble and you do not engage with change, change will happen in spite of you.
Right.
Right? And that I understand people having a resistance to. But the solution is not to try to hold on to that by closing your door and your eyes and your mind to options, but to engage them and manage that process. We do this all the time. Okay, to us, this is normal thinking. But it applies
You mean
to
in
everything.
architecture and
yes,
whatnot,
in,
right,
in,
right.
in anything,
Design.
in creating. You have to be either a power in creating. And I'm not being religious about this, but you either have to be in creating. If you could argue that the best way to actually honor the creator is to basically repeat the behavior in the way that you lead your life, creating relationships, creating connections, creating neighborhoods, creating buildings, creating things like this where you're sharing on a platform. Okay, if you're not participating in this, then what are you contributing?
My late father used to say, life is a parade, and we all just want to stay still, but it doesn't. It either walks over you or passes
But
you
even
by.
the parade has spectators and participants, Paul.
But you only
Yeah.
get to watch for a while, and then the parade moves on.
Change is inevitable.
Change is
you know?
inevitable, and
You-
we don't
you-
embrace change. We
you
thought
have
we
to
did in
embrace it.
California. California is the epitome of change, but right now in Orange County, in one level, we've talked about a lot on this aging show, Orange County is now the fastest aging community in America. We have, as a percentage in Newport Beach and whatnot, 20, 30% of people over the age of 65. That's frightening because none of these cities are looking forward to what is Newport Beach going to look like when it's 50% senior citizens.
But change doesn't have to mean the loss of the value of what is there now or was there in the past.
Exactly.
It just means that you are adding value and you're honoring what you had and you're ensuring its sustainability.
And maybe it's even better.
Right. So change is not something to be afraid of if you participate in it.
Right.
It is only fearful when you're standing on the sidelines and watching the parade go by.
When it's imposed upon you, which is what happened in the Midwest. The jobs left, the factories left, partly because of globalization. They went overseas, and partly because of technology. You know, even if they force these jobs back through these tariffs that are going to try and force jobs back to the Midwest.
Dude, we've talked about this all the time.
They'll just make robots make them here.
The new jobs that are being discussed, the money that's being reinvested, nobody running a company is going to say, I'm going to load up on my payroll and add more people onto the payroll doing inefficient jobs when I can take that money and automate.
Right.
They're going to be automation jobs, which is going to require the people that don't have the skill set to learn the skill set in order to stay relevant, and a lot of the workforce to basically now be obsolete.
Right.
So when you basically talk about jobs being brought back, and in the same breath you cut out retraining programs from the federal government, how do you retrain this workforce that is basically now going to be automated out of a livelihood and a quality of life and a job, and in the same breath be promising them a better life tomorrow?
When I was a kid,
It doesn't work that way.
The miracle of the Middle West, the miracle of that post-war boom in the Upper Midwest where I grew up and all my relatives live, was that you could come out of high school for the first time with no skills, and you could make a middle-class wage with a strong back. You could work in a mill, in a factory, in a mine. You could do hard labor and get paid good because of unions and because of the rising economy and the need for labor. You could do that. Those days passed. You now need skills. We have a shortage of skilled labor in this country. The average CAD operator, the average electrician, the average plumber is 62 or 63. Nobody wants to go into those fields. But this notion that somehow we're going to still give people middle-class wages for low or no skilled labor is gone. It's only going to get worse as retail disappears, as truck drivers disappear, as factories get automated. We're going to get more and more people who are either going to have to support on welfare forever, or we're going to have to somehow train and educate
I know a lot
to
of
do
people.
something.
I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, and it's not just in California, but just in general. And I think it has to do with the human condition. Okay, most human beings, just by virtue of the way that our DNA is basically done, especially as we get older, we just basically are resistant to change.
Very much so.
Okay, that's just the nature of our DNA.
Well, just because things are changing doesn't mean you have to leave behind the things that are really important to you. Traditional values. For example, I'm 100% plant-based now.
Right.
That doesn't mean I don't celebrate Thanksgiving with my whole family anymore.
Right.
We have an amazing spread where we have all of those side dishes that are all vegetables and incredible. You
adapt.
You adapt, and you can still have your old china out and your grandma's tablecloth out, and you can still have your whole family around. And all of those things that people are so afraid of losing, really it's that human connection with friends and family. And that's not going anywhere,
but Laura,
or it shouldn't.
No, it's like going out to dinner with somebody who is basically all plant-based or vegan, right? Or maybe even just vegetarian, right? Mm-hmm. If you have a tolerance, and this is the thing, it's tolerance and diversity, right? Mm-hmm. Then, yes, I can be sensitive to the fact that the people I'm going out to dinner with maybe have a different dietary habit than I am, right? In what I select, just because, and it could be as simple as, you guys going to be okay? Is the smell going to be offensive to you or whatever? Because I really want to. I want that baby back rib rack, right? I mean, the thing about it is there's room for all of it.
Absolutely.
Okay. And
there's no judgment.
There's no judgment.
No.
And you're making the decision to be plant-based for yourself.
Right.
Right. You're not trying to basically oh my God, the leftist Californian just pushing like a different diet on us, right? No. You're making that decision, and you're making that decision because for you. That's part of the matrix of your quality of life. Mm-hmm. You want to be around longer, and you perceive that this is going to help you. You want to be around to experience these things health-wise. A lot of people. I had people that worked with me in the same places that we had worked, right? Not at the same time, but that basically were taking insulin every day because they were diabetic. Okay? And this was over like almost 2 decades ago. They changed their dietary habits. And is anybody going to argue with me that if you change your dietary habits that you can cut down your need for taking insulin? No, it happens every day. Talk to anybody, regardless of age, and they'll tell you, I had diabetes, and when I changed my dietary habit, I actually improved my condition, and I don't have to be dependent on insulin as much, right? So nobody questions that.
Right.
But then we talk about somebody basically
science,
being all plant-based. No, but it has a real life, acceptable in general society, positive impact on somebody's health.
Yeah.
So
And
I don't
then
question
they'll
that.
listen.
But it's science. Oh my God! Don't use that word. Now I'm going to question it.
Well, and what you're talking
And it
about,
means that person is around
you're
longer, their
talking
life
about
quality is better.
an interesting area that we could go off on for a long time.
Yeah.
How Californians have accepted vegetarianism more than other parts of the country, but even still,
And cannabis.
and cannabis. My wife is
Well, it's
a longtime
vegetarian,
vegetarian. Her sister's a vegan, a really hardcore activist, and all this. And so we'd go back east to visit their relatives in Pennsylvania and our relatives in Detroit. And at first that seemed kooky and weird, and it was odd, and it was difficult around the holidays to accommodate everybody. I marvel at how mainstream vegetarianism, for example, has gone, even across the country, not just in college campuses and liberal college campuses, but particularly young people, young women in particular, more and more.
Because when nobody is watching from the party, okay, I admit that it's healthier for me.
Right. And maybe I want to live longer.
When the lights are off in the darkness of my own house, I'm eating those mung beans because I know there's protein in them.
And the same thing is true about the environmental movement, and the same thing is true, I think, will be about climate change. When you finally admit the world is changing, you can't deny it. We've had the hottest years on record every year for the last 3, 4, 5 years. You see all the weather patterns changing throughout the country, and you fear what the environment's going to look like. And you say, we've got to grab control of this. It doesn't have to cost us more. Yeah. It doesn't have to ruin our life.
Well,
in fact, it could be an opportunity for Americans to make more money to manufacture the technology.
There's usually a cost at the beginning of any paradigm shift.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of DNA, of R&D, research and development, and whatever it is, right? But eventually, as it becomes more extreme, by virtue of economies of scale, it becomes cheaper.
I remember the
solar panels. Oh my God! 5 years ago, could everybody afford solar panels until they came up with those programs for basically rolling back, credits?
Right.
No.
In the 1970s, my dad was an executive at Chrysler. All my friends' fathers, we lived in a Republican suburb, and everybody's dad was an executive with a car company or a supplier. And they first put on. EPA was created by Richard Nixon, that liberal Richard Nixon, and suddenly they put in fuel standards that you got to get more miles per gallon, and suddenly they put in safety standards for car bumpers so that when you bumped into somebody, you didn't have a $10,000 bill to suddenly fix your car. And I remember my father and others saying, this is the death of the car business. They're going to regulate it. It's going to ruin the car. It didn't. We lived. We adapted. In fact, fewer people...
Seatbelts. Oh, my God.
Yeah. Fewer people die now in cars. Cars pollute less, and they drive farther, and they last longer.
Well,
it turned out to be a good thing for everybody.
We need to embrace this new technology and this new paradigm shift. Absolutely. And other countries, like you said, are doing it. That's what China's doing. Yeah. If we want to keep up and be number one on the world stage, we need to embrace new technology.
Exactly.
And recently I was at a clean energy summit in Las Vegas. There were a lot of elected officials there, governors, mayors, from both sides of the aisle, because everybody is seeing that this is the way of the future. This is the way to not only improve our economy, make money, create jobs, but clean the air, clean the water, and prevent reverse climate change. It's
the best of both worlds.
It's the win-win-win scenario. And unfortunately, it's not like a war that you see this sudden, big, instant devastation.
No, it's more insidious than that.
It's this insidious kind of trickle.
Yeah, right. It's a death of it by 1,000 cuts.
So it's hard to really mobilize, but we need to mobilize all of our elected officials to come together and really look at this as almost a post-World War II moment.
But we need to also be driven by more than 4-year cycles.
Yes.
And fear.
and fear and realize that we are not doing anything but leaving things better than we found them by doing that model. Every 4 years we go through this chaotic cycle of a spike and then down, and then we have a little right every once in a while. It's like we take a breather, but something gets through the cracks on the midterms, and then we go up again, and then it's like it's just insanity to live like that, right? And I understand that there's some sort of sort of a sick blood sport component to this to political politics, right? And I understand that need for gladiators in the arena, right? But at the same time, there are certain things that we should insist do not get handled like that, right? This thing about you're either with us or against us. This thing of you can't have it both ways. You can't be a centrist. All the insanity of all of this is if you went to like an Eastern Bloc country, or in China or whatever, and you use the terms that we use here, derogatory, progressive,
right?
And you really looked on the range of left and right. Okay, when you say left and right in the United States, to your point about really getting together versus looking at the ends, left and right in the United States does not exist on a spectrum of left and right. We are sort of near the middle with a little degree to the left and a little degree to the right. You go to another country and you look at Socialist Party and Communist Party and the Liberal Party and whatever, the Tories or whatever,
and the fascist parties,
the ranges are totally different, right? So when going back to Bernie, when Bernie got labeled as a socialist, okay, like the S letter they painted on his chest, right? I'm thinking,
which is pretty close to the C word, communism.
Wait, hold on. S letter painted on his chest? Doesn't that stand for Superman? Right. I had to sneak that in, right?
Well, we're out of time. Let's give everybody.
Let's give out the website again, Laura, please.
One more time: oatmanforcongress.com. OATMANFOR Congress.
I think your motto should be, put an architect in there. Elect an architect.
Elect an architect. Hey, that even rhymes, doesn't it?
Because I never thought of that. Architects do deal with.
You want to create a better future?
Yeah.
Hire
bridges.
hire somebody for the job that knows how to make a plan.
And how's to build a bridge?
Yeah.
That's a powerful message. It really is, because I never thought of it.
I really don't do bridges, though. That's more engineering.
Well, we'll fudge it here.
You source that out.
How to build, how to create, how to take vision and turn it into reality.
That's what we need, more forward-thinking, visionary people.
Really look at the qualifications of the people. I urge you to look at Laura's website. I urge you to basically keep up to date when she releases this plan. Her plan.
Can people see this? If you
they can.
You can just tease them with it a little bit.
Yeah, this is one of the 11 by 17s that she brought in. It's really extensive.
And what's on
it's
it?
really extensive.
What is it? Don't read it.
United
but just
States Sustainable Cities and Infrastructure Planning Initiative for United Sustainable Clean Energy America by the year 2050. It's not that far away, by the way.
No.
And it's supposedly when California will no longer be white. Just happens to be the same thing.
And sustainability is not a frightening term like it was once for people. It simply means that whatever you have today, we're going to sustain it. We're going to continue it.
Isn't that
we're going to grow it.
Yeah.
It's like when we had Kia here.
Yeah.
And we were talking Hamadanchi, and we were talking about when did the word progressive become a negative thing?
Well, only when liberal
progress, progress. Why is a progressive?
The founding fathers were liberals.
And I read the definition, and it was basically daring to think beyond what there is today.
The founding fathers were revolutionaries. They were liberals. They believed in a liberal democracy.
Actually, I believe
which comes from liberty.
The British probably considered them terrorists, didn't they?
They did. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. They believed in the rights of man, not the rights of kings.
So please check out Laura's website. You can donate. You can volunteer. You can get involved. Whoever you decide to vote for this year.
Make sure it's somebody who's a planner and not a terror downer.
Take planner versus a terror downer. That's good application. But I will say, take the time. Don't make that decision in the last minute.
Oh, yeah.
Don't buy into the 8x10 glossy that either party is going to throw at you.
I flip a coin. That's what I do.
That's why you live where you live. No, he's being totally sarcastic. But
it worked in Virginia. That's how they decided the last election.
This is important. Okay, I understand that we all are settled with demands on our lives and family and children and after school activities and all this stuff, but take the time. It's so easy these days to find out. And don't take the information from one source, either source, any source. Look at multiple sources, find out for yourself, find out what is important for you, and find the person that you believe is going to have not only the promise, but also the credits and the credibility and the background that can deliver on those promises. People can promise you all day long, and we are living in a time when a lot of promises were made and none of them are being delivered on.
No.
And so it's time to stop looking for the piper that's promising and looking for the person that can do the stuff and do the job and do it in a manner that is sustainable.
And vote.
As an American investing in the future, I want my investment to be sustainable. I want a return on my investment. I want to make sure that my kids benefit from that as well, not just in a 4-year period, but a 40-year period.
And do what you say you believe in. We all say we want positive change, then vote for it. Don't vote for fear-based reaction.
And don't vote for change out of fear either. Vote for change out of knowledge. Take the time to educate yourself. These are decisions. I'm telling you, as a person who wasn't born here, person who didn't wake up one morning and go, "Wah," and I became an American citizen. Okay, okay.
That's
a person that basically lived elsewhere and didn't have a negative experience living elsewhere, to where I'm basically wrapping myself in the flag and accepting anything because it's better than what I had. No,
right.
My family decided by choice to legally immigrate. Okay. I had family here. I am the product of
chain migration.
Chain migration. Oh my God, to kick me out tomorrow, right? But basically, all right, we have an opportunity here to exercise a fundamental right that is very, very cherished, and a lot of people around the world would love to have the opportunity to do, and that is to vote,
and
to exercise and have our voice
be
yes, and so please take that responsibility seriously. It's not just a right, it is also a responsibility. Educate yourself, put the people that you represent. I may disagree with you on that person that you're voting for, but please take the time to justify why your vote should be cast for one person over the other.
And give us the Peter Drucker quote again.
If you want to predict the future, go create it.
There you go.
Yes.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura, for being here.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Welcome anytime.
All right.
All right.
You have been listening to the Raad Life Radio Show with your host and age explorer, Rod Gantos, brought to you on the one and only octalkradio.net. Join us again next week as we continue our journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older.
Welcome to SBRE Capital Matters, the only show focused on the small balance real estate community.